Hey, YouTube. Glad you're back, guys. Hey, so hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Everything worked out well. If you celebrate that part. Yeah, on this one, let's see here. This is just a simple little house. And for those of you who paint, I thought I'd go through just quickly here. I flash on my palette there, and it has quite a few colors in it, but typically I stay with a pretty limited palette. You know, I do dip into everything in the box eventually, and there's several blues there. But generally, if you're just starting out, and someday we'll get into why to use a limited palette, but for general use, I stick with cad yellow, lemon yellow. I do use yellow ochre in my palette because it's just easy. You can make yellow ochre if you want to, but it's just easier for me. And the pine trees, there's so many of them in here in New Mexico, pine trees and juniper trees and things like that. So the color, you know, is kind of a drab green. Anyway, a good starting place for me is azo green, and I do occasionally use a combination of azo green and olive green. And for the framework, the roof of this house, things like that, I was using burnt sienna, and I have fallen in love lately with imperial purple. So that's, although there's a few more colors in my palette, those are generally what I use. So anyway, yeah, on to this house. It's a pretty cool house. There was an apartment building in Albuquerque that was I was reading on the website there, a historic building. It was built in 1910, and sadly it was destroyed in a fire in 96, I believe. But I bring it up to say this house is in that area. It's the old railroad area east of Broadway and just south of Central. And it's just a kind of a historic, there's a lot of houses in there that are on the historic registry. You know, and during 1910, let's see, I don't think New Mexico was a state yet, but Albuquerque was growing. You can see I'm using Buck today. He's up and running. He's still a little finicky. I still may end up sending him to Japan to get repaired and cleaned up real nice. But yeah, Albuquerque was growing. The train had come in, and a lot of tourists and that kind of thing because of that. So Turquoise was selling, you know, in the 60s. You could go to the old railroad station, which it was torn down, demolished. There's a new one there now, but used to be, you know, the local indigenous people would sell their wares there, turquoise jewelry and things of that nature. And these houses that, like the last video and this one, are from that time period. You know, most of them were built in the early 1900s. A lot of them are on the historic register, and they've just, you know, in the past few years become 100 years old. And the style came, it's not really, you know, indigenous to New Mexico. It came in with the train, I believe, you know, a lot of Eastern influence as the tourists came on the train. And so that style was the hot new thing, probably from New York or somewhere. I don't know. I'm sure there are some architectural historians that know. But yeah, it's a neat area. There's a lot of history. Some of the houses are being renovated now. You know, a lot of people have moved there. It went through a period where it was really in ill repair, most of the area. But the last couple decades it started, you know, people moving in, refurbishing old houses that are falling down, that kind of thing. So yeah, Buck's working for this one. Just erased there. I think I show a little, there's the palette right there that I'm using today. And I did a couple of camera angles in this one too. I'm just learning. I've got a really jury-rigged kind of thing to hold my phone off the bookshelf there, and try and get a second camera angle, but it was a little low, as you'll see, so you don't have to comment too much because I intend to raise it so that you can still see what I'm doing. So this is a continuation. I'm using that same motif kind of idea that I did on the last video, and I think I got a little dark with the blue here, so I think I'll pay a little more attention to it on the next time I use it. But it is a fun way, and I don't mind it at all. You know, a little blue is not a bad thing, and I use just a little blue, but mostly the blue and the color of the house. I did it on purpose because of the contrast of the complementaries. Well, let's see. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I'm using Arches 140 pound, you know, cold press. Yeah, I like the bumpiness. The little bumps seem to add some character to the thing. So I guess you can kind of see what I'm doing with this side view. Anyway, yeah, on the railroads there, there is a, here I'm just putting in a little movement. So this will be the yellow ochre I'm adding to the yellow, just to give the wall a little movement, and it's still dried pretty flat. So, but anyway, there's those trees again. Yeah, the railroad, you know, it's amazing to me how fast everything has grown in the country, in the United States. Not only in growth in population, but advances. You know, I'm recording this on a cell phone, and I recorded the video on my Cintiq little laptop thing, and it's just amazing what we can do when you think the train didn't even hit New Mexico until well, I think it was like 1878. It was coming down, I think, from Denver, being built in that Raton Pass. I don't know if you've ever been up there, but if you get up there, holy mackerel, that must have been a feat to go through Raton Pass with a train. It's an area where everybody that lives here knows you know you want to be careful going through there in the winter time, because it's not a real high mountain pass, but it's definitely elevated and rocky and gets horrendous snowstorms. The pass gets blocked every once in a while. But anyway, yeah, 1878. And the train didn't even get to Albuquerque until 1880. And yeah, I know that sounds like, you know, the way olden days. But if you think about it, you know, it's under 150 years ago. It's all changed. Those people were living completely different lives. You know, I wonder about if these houses were built even with you know, like gas plumbing to each house. You know, if it was rudimentary. A lot of things have changed in that short time period. Anyway, rambling on here. So I'm just using a little, that's a purple, and I believe it's got 3 colors in it for that under the eaves there. I was using the burnt sienna, probably a little ultramarine blue, and just a little bit of purple, of that imperial purple, which I've fallen in love with. The windows I kind of toned down a little bit with ultramarine and the imperial purple. But, and this is, you know, these past couple videos are not really my normal style. I wanted something a little bit brighter, so I'm kind of playing around with brighter subject or brighter materials, and you can go a lot brighter still if you know. That I'm painting here is probably 1/4 mile from the train tracks that have been in a similar spot for 100 years. There is a museum here, a railroad museum, and apparently they're building, they're trying to raise funds to build a nice, it looks from the photograph you see on the internet, it looks like it's going to be a nice place. They're 3/4 of the way there with the funding. A really nice, it's called Wheels, I think, and should be another fun addition. There's several fair museums here in Albuquerque, but I'd really like to see this one get built. And sadly, I'm belong to Urban Sketchers. I don't know how many of you do urban sketching, but I love to get out and sketch. I've been starting to video some of it just so I can show you some. But also a Plein Air Society painter, Plein Air Painters of Albuquerque. Anyway, the point is, rambling on, I tell you that to tell you I missed. There was a scheduled Urban Sketchers meeting at the museum, the Railroad Museum, and I missed going. I couldn't go that day, so I do hope to get down there on my own at some point in the near future. So you can see I'm kind of lightening up that blue. I'm liking that effect. I like putting the white on top of the light blue snow. It gives it a little bit of a highlight. But I do think I may go a little lighter with the snow on the next one. Well, here we go again. We're coming to the end. I hope some of you guys are inspired to, these are the kind of paintings that you just would put in a journal, you know. These are the kind of loose little paintings that you're sitting in your car and you got a few minutes, you know, and you just scribble some in. Maybe you don't get to put any paint to it till a later date, you know. But it's just the kind of thing that you could put in either a journal or a sketchbook. Well, there it is. I love doing them, as I always say, and I do. I just really enjoy painting them, and hope you guys get to enjoy them. I'm going to have the picture come up here in a few minutes. And of course, as always, I'll doodly poop, and the photograph will pop up right at the end of the credits. And you'll see, again, I really took a lot of license with this one. But hey, it was a lot of fun to paint. You guys take care. I'll see you on the next one.